Good evening. It is June 2nd, and tonight we're going to be reading from 2 Samuel 19:11 through 20:14, John 21 1 through 25, Psalms 120 1 through 7, and Proverbs 16:16 through 17. Every night we like to say the Lord's Prayer, so if you will join in with me, please. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, the glory, forever and ever. Amen. 2 Samuel 19:11 through 20:14. When David heard what was being said, he sent word to Zodek and Abiathar, the priests. Ask the elders of Judah, why are you so laggard in bringing the king back home? You're my brothers. You're my own flesh and blood. So why are you the last ones to bring the king back home? And tell Amasa, you too are my flesh and blood, as God is my witness. I'm making you the permanent commander of the army in place of Joab. He captured the hearts of everyone in Judah. They were unanimous in sending for the king. Come back, you and all your servants. So the king returned. He arrived at the Jordan just as Judah reached Gilgal, on their way to welcome the king and escort him across the Jordan. Even Shimei, son of Gera, the Benjamite from Burnham, hurried down to join the men of Judah so he could welcome the king, 1,000 Benjamites with him. And Ziba, Saul's steward, with his 15 sons and 20 servants, waded across the Jordan to meet the king and brought his entourage across, doing whatever they could to make the king comfortable. Shimei, son of Gera, bowed deeply in homage to the king as soon as he was across the Jordan and said, don't think badly of me, my master. Overlook my irresponsible outburst on the day my master, the king, left Jerusalem. Don't hold it against me. I know I sinned, but look at me now, the first of all the tribe of Joseph to come down and welcome back my master the king. Abishai, son of Zeruiah, interrupted. Enough of this. Shouldn't we kill him outright? Why, he cursed God's anointed. But David said, what is it with you, sons of Zeruiah? Why do you insist on being so contentious? Well, that's a big word. I hadn't used that in a while. Why do you insist on being so contentious? Nobody is going to be killed today. I am again king over Israel. The king turned to Shimei. You're not going to die, and the king gave him his word. Next, Mephibosheth, grandson of Saul, arrived from Jerusalem to welcome the king. He hadn't combed his hair or trimmed his beard or washed his clothes from the day the king left until the day he returned safe and sound. The king said, and why didn't you come with me? Mephibosheth, my master the king, he said, my servant betrayed me. I told him to saddle my donkey so I could ride it and for go with the king, for as you know I am lame. And then he lied to you about me. But my master the king has been like one of God's angels. He knew what was right and did it. Wasn't everyone in my father's house doomed? But you took me in and gave me a place at your table. What more could I ever expect of you? Expect or ask. That's enough, said the king. Say no more. Here's my decision. You and Ziba divide the property between you. Mephibosheth said, let's have it all. All I care about is that my master and king are home safe and sound. Barzillai, the Gittite, had come down from Rogelim. He crossed the Jordan with the king to give him a good send off. Barzillai was a very old man, 80 years old. He had supplied the king's needs all the while he was in Manim, since he was very wealthy. Join me in Jerusalem, the king said to Barzillai. Let me take care of you. But Barzillai did not decline the offer. How long do you think I'd live if I went with the king to Jerusalem? I'm 80 years old and not much good to anyone anymore. Can't taste food, can't hear music, so why add to the burdens of my master the king? I'll just go a little way across the Jordan with the king, but why would the king need to make a great thing of that? Let me get back and die in the hometown and be buried with my father and mother. But my servant Kimham here, let him go with you in my place, but treat him well. The king said, that's settled. Kimham goes with me, and I will treat him well. If you think of anything else, I'll do that for you too. The army crossed the Jordan, but the king stayed. The king kissed and blessed Barzillai, who then returned home. Then the king, Kimham, and him crossed over the Gilgal. The whole army of Judah and half the army of Israel processed with the king. Good Lord. The men of Israel came to the king and said, "Why have our brothers, the men of Judah, taken over as their own the king, taken over as if they own the king, escorting the king and his family and close associates across the Jordan?" The men of Judah retorted, "Because the king is related to us, that's why. But why make a scene? You don't see us getting treated special because of it, do you?" The men of Israel shot back, "We have 10 shares in the king to your one. Besides, we're the firstborn. So why are we having to play second fiddle? It was our idea to bring him back." But the men of Judah took a harder line than the men of Israel. Just then, a good for nothing named Sheba, son of Bikra, the Benjamite, blew a blast on the ram's horn trumpet, calling out, "We've got nothing to do with David. There's no future for us with the son of Jesse. Let's get out of here, Israel. Head for the tents." So all the men of Israel deserted David and followed Sheba, son of Bikri. But the men of Judah stayed committed, sticking with their king all the way from the Jordan to Jerusalem. When David arrived home in Jerusalem, the king took the 10 concubines that he had left to watch the palace and placed them in seclusion under guard. He provided for their needs but didn't visit them. They were virtually prisoners until they died, widows as long as they lived. Well, the king ordered Amasa, "Muster the men of Judah for me in 3 days. Then report in." Amasa went to carry out his orders, but he was late reporting back, so David told Abishai, "Sheba, son of Bikri, is going to hurt us even worse than Absalom did. Take your master's servants and hunt him down before he gets holed up in some fortress where we can't get to him." So under Abishai's command, all the best men, Joab's men, and the Kirithites and Pilathites left Jerusalem to hunt down Sheba, son of Bikri. They were near the boulder of Gibeon when Amasa came their way. Joab was wearing a tunic with a sheathhead sword strapped to his waist, but the sword slipped out and fell to the ground. Joab greeted Amasa, "How are you, brother?" and took Amasa's beard in his right hand as to kiss him. And as if to kiss him. Amasa didn't notice the sword in Joab's other hand. Joab struck him in the belly, and his guts spilled to the ground. A second blow wasn't needed. He was dead. Then Joab and his brother Abishai continued to chase Sheba, son of Bikri. One of Joab's soldiers took up his post over the body and called out, "Everyone who sides with Joab and supports David, follow Joab." Amasa was lying in a pool of blood in the middle of the road. The man realized that the whole army was going to stop and take a look, so he pulled Amasa's corpse off the road into the field and threw a blanket over him so it wouldn't collect spectators. As soon as he got him off the road, the traffic flowed normally, following Joab in the chase after Sheba, son of Bikri. Sheba passed through all the tribes of Israel as far as Abel Beth Makkah. All the Bikrites clustered and followed him into the city. A breakdown of 2 Samuel 19:11 through 20:14. David returns to Jerusalem after Absalom's rebellion, but the king is still fractured. The tribes argue over who has the greater claim to the king, and a man named Sheba seizes the opportunity to stir up another rebellion. The lesson is that even after victory, unresolved division can create new problems. Leadership isn't just about winning battles, it's about restoring unity. God calls us to be peacemakers who heal division rather than fuel it. The takeaway says that divided people are vulnerable, but unity creates strength. John 21:1 through 25. After this, Jesus appeared again to the disciples, the time at the Tiberias Sea, the Sea of Galilee. So Jesus was crucified, raised from the dead. Doubting Thomas saw him, and he's still here on earth talking to the disciples. This is how he did it. Simon Peter, Thomas, nicknamed Twin, Nathanael from Cana in Galilee, the brothers Zebedee, and 2 other disciples were together. Simon Peter announced, "I'm going fishing." The rest of them replied, "We're going with you." They went out and got in the boat. They caught nothing that night. When the sun came up, Jesus was standing on the beach, but they didn't recognize him. Jesus spoke to them. "Good morning. Did you catch anything for breakfast?" They answered, "No." He said, "Throw the net off the right side of the boat and see what happens." They did what he said, and all of a sudden there were so many fish that it wasn't strong enough to pull it in. Then the disciple Jesus loved to see Peter. It's the master. Then the disciple Jesus said to Peter, that does not sound right. It's the master. When Simon Peter realized that it was the master, he threw on some clothes, for he was stripped for work, and dove into the sea. The other disciples came came in by boat, for they weren't far from land, 100 yards or so, pulling along the net full of fish. When they got out of the boat, they saw a fire laid, and the fish and bread cooking on it. Jesus said, "Come, bring the fish you've just caught." Simon Peter joined them and pulled the net to shore, 153 big fish, and even with all those fish, the net didn't rip. Jesus said, "Breakfast is ready." No one of my disciples dared ask, "Who are you?" They all knew it was the Master. Jesus then took the bread and gave it to them. He said the same with the fish. This was now the third time Jesus had shown himself alive to the disciples since being raised from the dead. After breakfast, Jesus said to Simon Peter, "Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these?" "Yes, Master, you know I love you." Jesus said, "Feed my lambs." And then he asked a second time, Simon, son of John, do you love me?" "Yes, Master, you know I love you." Jesus said, "Shepherd my sheep." Then he said a third time, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" Peter was so upset that he asked the third time. He says, "Do you love me?" So he answered, "Master, you know everything there is to know. You've got to know that You've got to know that I love you." Jesus said, "Feed my sheep." I'm telling you the very truth now. When you were young, you dressed yourself and went wherever you wished. But when you get old, you'll have to stretch out your hands while someone else dresses you and takes you where you don't want to go. He said this is he said this to hint at the kind of death by which Peter would glorify God. And and then he commanded, "Follow me." Turn his head. Peter noticed the disciples. Jesus loved following right behind. When Peter noticed him, he asked Jesus, "Master, what's going to happen to him?" Jesus said, "If I want him to live until I come, what's that to you? You follow me." This is how the rumor got out among the brothers that the disciples wouldn't die. But that is not what Jesus said. He simply said, "If you want him to live until I come again, what's that to you?" This is the same disciple who was eyewitness to all the things and wrote them down. And we all know that his eyewitness accounts is reliable and accurate. There are so many other things Jesus did. If they were all written down, each of them, one by one, I can't imagine a world big enough to hold such library books. Breakdown in John 21, 1 through 25. After his resurrection, Jesus appears to his disciples while they are fishing. They catch nothing until Jesus tells them where to cast the nets. Then Jesus restores Peter, who has denied him 3 times, by asking 3 times, "Do you love me?" Excuse me. Jesus doesn't define Peter by his failure, but by his future calling. Feed my sheep. This chapter reminds us that God's grace restores us and gives us purpose beyond mistakes. Excuse me. The takeaway says failure is not final when Jesus is involved. Psalms 120, 1 through 7. I'm in trouble. I cry to God, desperate for an answer. Deliver me from the liars, God. They smile so sweetly, but lie through their teeth. Do you know what's next? Can you see what's coming? All you bold faced liars, pointed arrows, and burning coals will be your reward. I'm doomed to live in Meshach, cursed with a home in Kedar. Who knew my whole life lived camping among quarreling neighbors? I'm all I'm all for peace, but the minute I tell them so, they go to war. Breakdown of Psalms 121 through 7. David cries out to God while surrounded by deceitful and hostile people. He longs for peace, yet finds himself living among those who love conflict. Many believers can relate to this feeling in today's world. The psalm teaches us to bring our frustrations to God rather than becoming bitter ourselves. The takeaway says, when you're surrounded by conflict, pursue God's peace instead of joining the fight. Ain't that the truth? Okay, Proverbs 16, 16, and 17. Good. Get wisdom. It's worth more than money. Choose insight over income every time. Oh, ain't that the truth? The road of right living bypasses evil. Watch your step and save your life. Breakdown of Proverbs 16, 16 through 17 says, wisdom is worth far more than gold or silver because it guides every area of life. The wise person avoids evil and stays on God's path, protecting both their character and their future. Wealth can be lost, but godly wisdom continues to produce lasting rewards. The greatest investment you can make is pursuing God's wisdom and walking in his ways. The summary breakdown says 2 Samuel, unity must be protected after victory. John says failure can be redeemed through God's grace. Psalms 120, choose peace even when others choose conflict. And Proverbs, pursue wisdom over everything else. No one told you today. I love you and I appreciate you. Thank you for joining. We'll see you tomorrow. It'll be June the 3rd. Have a better than good evening. I love you. I love you. I love you. Thanks.